In the name of God. So we go to page 186 and talk about the rest of the materials. Okay, if you actually go to the line 4, which begins the new paragraph, we have something like this. The physical basis of universal grammar means that it is part of the human genetic inheritance. Okay, it is part of the human genetic inheritance. Okay, so it is in our genes and it is part of our genetics to in fact develop language. It's a part of biology rather than psychology. Okay, now universal grammar line 2 is a part of the genotype specifying one aspect of the initial state of human mind and brain, as Chomsky comes to say. Okay, so it is part of our human biology. So it's a kind of biology that enables us to talk about language. Okay, to in fact develop language. Okay, to acquire language, our mother tongue. Okay, so if you actually go to line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of this paragraph, it is written, paragraph 8, 1, 2, 3, line 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Line 8, page 186, the new paragraph, okay? It says, children from one type of language being brought up by parents from another. What happens? So suppose that there's an Iraqi child, okay, whose mother actually dies years ago at the time of Saddam, okay, and she is sent to the United States. What kind of language he develops? What kind of language she develops? Arabic? No, English. Why? Because he or she is exposed to English, not Arabic. Okay? We have so many cases like this, that whose parents are like this from one part of the world. When they go to Canada, when they go to the United States, they develop the language there, English. Why? Because they have not seen their father. They have not seen their mothers. Okay? What about their genetics? When you go to the United States and look at these guys, you see that, well, he is like an Iraqi person. But when you actually talk to them, they don't know Arabic. They do not know Iraqi lahja. Why? Because, well, Iraqi or Arabic is not in our genes. Language is in our genes. Language is in our genes. The same holds true for people in Syria. They die, but the children grow up in somewhere else, like Iraq. Okay? So the children without mother, without father, they develop Iraqi accent, not Syrian accent. Okay? This is something that we want to say. Okay? I have seen so many people like that around the world. For example, I remember once when I was in Canada, I saw that there are so many, in fact, kids talking at the end of the bus. I was riding a bus, okay. At that time, I found that I was a passenger there in the bus. I found that the school children actually are, in fact, talking noisily in the very good accent of English. I just turned around and had a look at those in fact, kids found that some of them are black. Some of them are black. What does it mean? It means that if you are a black person from one type of human being, but you go to the United States, you actually develop their language only when you are a child. Okay, so language acquisition is so important to, in fact, language teachers. We have to understand that what we mean by language acquisition in order to teach the children actually, or the adults, a second language. So this is the case. So going to the next paragraph. Okay, the book says something like the language organ is also held to be the property of only human brains. What does it mean? Only human brain has got this type of organ. A chimpanzee does not have it. A gorilla does not have it. Dogs do not have it. Parrots do not have it. Okay? Only humans are able to talk. Why? Line 1 says, the language organ is also held to be the property of only human brains. As we saw from Lenneberg, 1967. Actually, Lenneberg has written a book about language and biology, language and human beings. Okay, this guy, in fact, Lenneberg has developed a theory of biological or a genetic theory of language in 1967. Okay, line 3 or line 2 says, excuse me, there's a car outside. In fact, it's going to, take the garbage out. That's why we have the sound of that car. It's done. Okay. Various attempts have been made to refute Chomsky's claim. There are so many attempts to say no, Chomsky is not right. Okay, the language faculty is species specific. Remember, language faculty, as I told you earlier, is species specific. What does it mean? Only human species, only the humankind is able to talk. We call it species or species specific. Okay, some people say species, some people say species. Okay, so language is a species specific or species specific. What does it mean? Only and only human beings are able to talk. Only and only humankind, human type, is able to talk. Okay, not other types of animals. Okay, this is something that Chomsky says, and well, because they wanted to say Chomsky is not right, in the 20th century there were attempts to in fact kill Chomsky's ideas. Let us see. The next paragraph says, the usual approach is to teach another species a simplified form of language. Okay, they wanted to teach animals a simplified version of human language. Were they able? No. Let us look at those, in fact, cases on the next page. Well, page 187 talks about Washoe. Okay, we studied Washoe last semester only with me. Okay, saying that Washoe was not able to talk. Okay, paragraph 1. Paragraph 2 talks about Lana. You remember, we talked about Lana last semester in the book Yule, which you studied. Okay? The Study of Language by George Yule. Well, you can look at animals and human language in this chapter. We said animals are not able to talk. Okay? The next paragraph talks about Coco. Again, in your book, you studied. This animal was not able to talk. So they came to the conclusion that animals are not able to talk. Only humans are able to talk. What do we say? We say that language is species specific. Okay? So if we actually continue with these pages, page 187, paragraph 1, 2, 3, we say that we have the same thing that we studied last semester. Okay, animals are not able to talk. Paragraph beginning with but on chapter in page 187 talks about well, there were different types of problems with these studies. But there's one thing good in all these studies, that humans are only species, only the kinds of animals that are able to talk. And there is no other animal who is able to talk. Okay? Well, that is on chapter 100, page 187. Let us go to see, well, and the material continues on page 188, and there are other examples there, but I'll give you good examples of, in fact, English language, Arabic language, and those who were in the United States. Okay, just in my previous lecture. Okay, so if I'm repeating it once more, if you are an Iraqi genetically, it means that your father is an Iraqi person. Okay, and your mother is an Iraqi. But you go even to the United States with your father, and suppose you are 1 year old. Okay, 2 years old. Okay, you see the televisions there, you can see the different kinds of, in fact, cell phones there. There are lots of programs on the tablets, etc., etc. Your friends are actually talking in English. Okay, your language develops to be, suppose you are 1 year old. Okay, 2 years old. Your language could be something like English, not Arabic. The other way around is possible. Okay, if somebody from another country comes to Iraq, okay, and they have kids here, and they send the kids to the Iranian schools, to Iraqi schools, what is the result? They develop Farsi in Iran and Iraqi lahja in, let's say, Iraq. That's it. Okay? Automatically. That's it. What we want to say. Well, on page 188, there are two other examples. I just leave the discussion for you to continue. Okay? Thank you very much. My next presentation is on page 189.